Most of us navigate life carrying an invisible weight. The standard understanding of human psychology suggests we are the sum total of our past experiences, meaning the wounds of our childhood dictate the struggles we face today. This cause and effect model of the human mind traces its lineage back to Sigmund Freud, and the idea was reinforced by Carl Jung, cementing the belief that our past is the primary architect of our present reality. But a viral movement is currently sweeping the globe by rejecting that entire foundation. Millions of people are finding personal relief in a philosophy that tosses out the past entirely. The thinker behind this resurgent countermovement is a contemporary of Freud's named Alfred Adler. Adler's popularity hinges on a highly controversial piece of strong medicine, the absolute, uncompromising claim that trauma does not exist. This creates a massive paradox. We have to ask how a philosophy that invalidates our deepest wounds can simultaneously be responsible for healing millions of people. Traditional psychology relies on etiology, the study of cause and effect. In this model, a past traumatic event is the direct trigger that pushes a negative behavior into the present. Adlerian psychology flips the timeline through a concept called teleology. It argues that we choose our present goals first, and then fabricate our past as a convenient excuse to justify those goals. Think of a struggling novelist who claims past trauma prevents them from writing. Adler would argue their actual, hidden goal is to avoid the pain of criticism, and the trauma is just a shield they've picked up to protect themselves from the reality of potential failure. Adler expands this radical responsibility to the rest of society with one central rule: all problems are interpersonal problems. Trying to be universally liked forces you to take on the tasks and expectations of everyone around you. You surrender your freedom the moment you try to manage someone else's opinion of you. True freedom requires a separation of tasks. Happiness comes from recognizing that whether someone else approves of you is strictly their task, not yours. Crossing that boundary guarantees misery. This philosophy has a clear dark side. What happens to victims of genuine, systemic abuse if we accept the premise that everything is a personal choice? There is a fierce backlash against Adler's extremes. Critics call this ideology hazardous and offensive, arguing that it promotes toxic victim blaming and ignores the scientific evidence of how the nervous system physically stores traumatic events. The theory also ignores systemic power structures. Demanding that marginalized people simply choose to be happy overlooks the realities of privilege and inequality. Modern clinicians are now trying to rescue the empowering parts of this theory through an evidence-based practice called Adlerian Pattern-Focused Therapy. This modern adaptation avoids the controversial denial of trauma entirely. Instead of debating the past, it focuses strictly on replacing a patient's maladaptive behavioral patterns with healthier, more adaptive ones. Adler's total denial of trauma fails as a strict medical diagnosis. However, the underlying toxic patterns remains a highly effective clinical tool. Adlerian psychology functions as a provocative philosophical tool designed to shock us out of self-pity, rather than as a medical textbook. We often view life as a rigid mountain climb, dictated by where you started, aiming only for the peak. Adler suggests life is actually a series of dots. There's no grand cause and effect line, only the courage to exist in the current pulsing moment. It's the metaphor of dancing through life. Dancers don't move to reach a specific destination. They move to engage in the act of dancing itself. Happiness resides in the simple, present feeling of contribution and the courage to move to your own rhythm, even when the world dislikes the music.